Welcome to my channel, and today I want to share a story that will remind you that no matter how impossible life may seem, miracles can still happen. It's about a young man named Jacob Thompson, who grew up with nothing but dreams, determination, and the unwavering belief that he could make a difference. From humble beginnings and countless struggles to moments of heartbreak, hope, and unexpected kindness, this story shows how perseverance, faith, and compassion can turn even the toughest challenges into life-changing miracles. Jacob Thompson grew up in a modest home in a small town, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else, and the struggles of life were often visible on people's faces. From a very young age, he knew that his family had little, but what they lacked in wealth, they made up for in love and resilience. His mother, Helen Thompson, worked tirelessly as a nurse at the local hospital, often coming home late with exhaustion etched on her face, while his father, Robert Thompson, had passed away when Jacob was just a toddler, leaving a void that the boy felt in every part of his life. Despite the hardships, Jacob had an unshakable dream of becoming a doctor. Inspired partly by watching his mother care for patients with unwavering dedication, and partly by the desire to save lives like the doctors he admired on television. School was never easy for him. He often struggled to afford textbooks, uniforms, and even basic school supplies, but he compensated with determination and late-night studying under the dim light of a second-hand lamp. His friends often mocked his worn-out shoes or the way he carried lunch in a simple brown bag while they flaunted store-bought meals, but Jacob never let it dampen his spirit. He believed that hard work and faith could move mountains. One winter morning, when he was 16, Jacob witnessed a scene that would change the course of his life. A woman, Mrs. Lorraine Hayes, had collapsed in the icy streets near his school, and without hesitation, he ran to help her, shielding her from the freezing wind and calling for emergency services. The paramedics arrived quickly, but it was Jacob's quick thinking, knowing how to keep her warm and calm, that they later credited for her survival. Word of his act spread through the town, earning him quiet admiration, but also reminding him that even small deeds could ripple into extraordinary outcomes. Soon after, an anonymous benefactor, impressed by his bravery and dedication, offered to cover his tuition for the next year, allowing him to attend advanced science classes and access resources he had never dreamed of. Jacob's life began to shift gradually. He excelled academically, making friends who respected him for his intelligence and kindness, rather than his modest background. Still, his journey was filled with obstacles. Exams he couldn't afford to fail, nights when the heater broke and he studied shivering under blankets, and moments when the pressure seemed unbearable. Yet, every time he faltered, he reminded himself of the woman in the icy street, the faith his mother instilled in him, and the belief that miracles, no matter how small, could happen when one refused to give up. By the time he graduated high school, Jacob had not only achieved top marks, but had also started volunteering at the very hospital where his mother worked, gaining hands-on experience and forming bonds with patients who shared their stories of resilience and hope, which further fueled his commitment to medicine. Despite the obstacles that lay ahead, including the looming costs of medical school, Jacob's heart remained steadfast in its belief that perseverance, compassion, and unwavering faith could defy even the harshest realities of life. Jacob Thompson's college years were both exhilarating and grueling, a time when his dreams began to take shape alongside the relentless challenges that seemed determined to test him at every turn. He earned a scholarship to a reputable university several towns away, which meant leaving the comfort of his small hometown and the steady support of his mother. Helen, though proud, worried constantly about her only son living alone in a new city, navigating a world filled with unknown dangers and pressures. Jacob, however, embraced the independence, seeing it as an opportunity to grow, learn, and prove to himself that faith and hard work could overcome even the steepest hurdles. Early mornings were spent in crowded lecture halls, where students in expensive suits and flashy gadgets often looked at him with mild curiosity, a subtle acknowledgement of his humble background. He studied tirelessly, scribbling notes in notebooks with frayed edges and typing assignments on an old laptop that sometimes froze mid-task. Yet he refused to let circumstances dictate his potential. To support himself, Jacob worked at a local cafe in the evenings, serving coffee to rushed business people and exhausted students, often going without sleep to prepare for exams or finish lab reports. There were days when his fatigue threatened to overwhelm him, and moments when self-doubt crept in, whispering that maybe he wasn't cut out for the life he had envisioned. But every time he faced those doubts, he remembered the warmth of Mrs. Lorraine Hayes' smile that morning in the icy street, the pride in his mother's eyes, and the quiet promise he had made to himself to never give up, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. During his second year, Jacob encountered a mentor, Dr. Samuel Whitaker, a brilliant physician and researcher at the university hospital. Dr. Whitaker saw in Jacob not only academic potential, but also a rare compassion that could not be taught. He invited Jacob to assist in his research on cardiovascular diseases, a field that fascinated Jacob and aligned with his dream of saving lives. The work was demanding, requiring long hours in the lab, precise measurements, and constant study of complex medical texts. Yet Jacob thrived, his determination matched by his curiosity, his resilience fueled by the hope that his efforts could one day translate into real-world impact. One particularly late night in the lab, after weeks of failed experiments and growing frustration, Jacob experienced a breakthrough, identifying a small but significant pattern in the data that had eluded more experienced researchers. Dr. Whitaker praised him, noting that persistence, combined with careful observation and belief in oneself, was often the catalyst for discovery. That moment reinforced a truth Jacob had always held. Miracles, though rare, were born of patience, diligence, and unwavering faith. Outside the university, Jacob's life was not without personal trials. He formed friendships with students from diverse backgrounds, some of whom shared his struggles. While others seemed worlds apart in wealth and opportunity, there were moments of loneliness, homesickness, and the ache of missing his mother's presence and the familiar rhythm of his hometown. Yet, in every hardship, he discovered a lesson in empathy, humility, and perseverance. During his third year, a medical emergency hit close to home. His mother was diagnosed with a serious illness, forcing Jacob to balance rigorous coursework with frequent trips back to care for her. The strain was immense, and many nights he studied in the hospital corridors while Helen rested between treatments. Watching his mother endure pain with courage and grace deepened Jacob's resolve to pursue medicine not just as a career, but as a calling, a chance to heal others, as she had healed so many through her own dedication. Through these trials, Jacob experienced small miracles that renewed his faith in life's unpredictable goodness. A classmate offering to share study materials he could not afford, a professor providing mentorship beyond the syllabus, and strangers whose acts of kindness reminded him that hope often arrived in unexpected ways. By the time Jacob graduated college with honors, he had not only developed the academic foundation necessary for medical school, but had also cultivated the empathy, patience, and perseverance that would define his future practice as a doctor. Even as he prepared to enter medical school, a stage that promised its own rigorous challenges and life-defining moments, Jacob's journey reinforced a central truth: that miracles, in their quiet, steady way, could still happen for those who refused to abandon hope, worked tirelessly, and kept believing in the unseen possibilities that life had to offer. Medical school proved to be an entirely new level of challenge for Jacob Thompson, a world where long hours, immense pressure, and emotional strain tested every ounce of his determination. The first day he walked into the university's state-of-the-art medical center, the reality of his dream hit him in full force. Brilliant students from elite backgrounds, professors with decades of experience, and patients whose lives hung in delicate balance all surrounded him, and he realized that every decision, every action, could have real consequences. The coursework was grueling. Anatomy labs demanded precision and stamina, while lectures stretched late into the evening, often leaving him physically drained. He continued working part-time at the hospital cafeteria, sneaking in study time whenever possible, and surviving on minimal sleep. Despite the exhaustion, Jacob found moments of profound inspiration in patient care. He remembered Mrs. Lorraine Hayes, now recovered, and how a single act of kindness had shaped her life. He realized that medicine was not only about knowledge, but about empathy, connection, and the courage to act when others hesitated. During his second year, a clinical rotation in the pediatric ward brought him face-to-face with children battling chronic illnesses. One boy, 8-year-old Ethan Reynolds, was undergoing intensive treatment for leukemia. And Jacob, assisting the attending physician, observed the fragile balance between hope and despair in the hospital room. He held Ethan's hand, read stories, and encouraged the boy to smile through his pain, realizing that emotional support often worked hand in hand with medical intervention. It was in these small, human moments that Jacob truly understood the power of belief, that faith, care, and persistent effort could manifest as tangible miracles in the lives of others. Midway through medical school, Jacob faced a personal crisis when a devastating financial error nearly jeopardized his tuition. Months of frugality, scholarships, and part-time work had brought him this far. Yet a clerical mistake threatened to undo it all. For a week, he felt paralyzed by fear and uncertainty, questioning whether his dreams were worth the sacrifices. Then, unexpectedly, an alumnus of the medical school, Dr. Laura Sinclair, who had once been mentored by his own mother's colleagues, learned of Jacob's situation. Moved by his perseverance and dedication, she offered to cover his tuition for the remainder of the year, emphasizing that talent and integrity should never be hindered by circumstance. Jacob saw this as yet another reminder that miracles, while rare and unpredictable, were always possible for those who refused to surrender to despair. As Jacob progressed into his clinical years, he encountered a patient who would forever alter his understanding of faith and resilience. A young woman named Maria Sanchez, battling a rare heart condition that required immediate surgery. The prognosis was grim, and her family had exhausted all financial options, leaving the hospital staff searching for solutions. Jacob, moved by her courage and unwavering spirit, worked tirelessly with doctors, nurses, and hospital administration to coordinate care. He spent countless nights researching alternative treatments, contacting specialists, and comforting Maria's worried parents. The surgery was ultimately successful, a triumph that to Jacob felt nothing short of miraculous. Maria's recovery strengthened his conviction that medicine was as much about belief, hope, and human effort as it was about scientific knowledge. Through these experiences, Jacob also learned to navigate the personal sacrifices required for his chosen path. Friends he had made in college drifted away, romantic relationships faltered under the weight of his workload, and moments of loneliness became frequent companions. Yet, each challenge reinforced a crucial lesson: the pursuit of a higher purpose, fueled by compassion and unwavering belief, often demanded resilience far beyond the ordinary. By the time Jacob graduated from medical school, he had not only earned the title of Dr. Jacob Thompson, but had also become a living testament to the power of perseverance, faith, and the quiet miracles that emerge when one refuses to abandon hope. His journey from a boy in a small town, with worn shoes and a dream too big for his circumstances, to a doctor capable of changing lives, demonstrated that miracles are never reserved for the fortunate few. They belong to those willing to endure, to act with kindness, and to keep believing even when the path seems impossibly steep. In the years that followed, Jacob continued to touch countless lives, establishing a community clinic for underprivileged families, mentoring young, aspiring doctors, and sharing his story with anyone willing to listen. Through it all, he carried with him the lessons of his youth, that compassion and faith could transform lives, that every small act of courage mattered, and that true miracles are often the culmination of relentless effort, unwavering belief, and the willingness to never give up, no matter how insurmountable the odds. After completing his residency, Jacob Thompson returned to his hometown with a vision: to create a medical practice that not only treated illnesses, but also offered hope to families who, like his own, had struggled against life's relentless challenges. He established the Thompson Community Health Clinic in a modest building near the town center, a place designed to serve everyone, regardless of their financial status. In the early days, resources were scarce, and Jacob often worked 16-hour days, balancing patient care, administrative duties, and community outreach. Yet he found energy and motivation in the gratitude of the people who walked through his doors. Single mothers with children battling chronic illnesses, elderly couples struggling with heart disease, teenagers facing mental health challenges. Each story reinforced his lifelong belief that miracles were possible when human effort and compassion combined. One winter evening, a particularly severe storm swept through the town, causing power outages and leaving some families stranded without access to necessary medical care. Jacob, undeterred by the harsh weather, drove through snow and flooded streets to reach patients in urgent need, carrying supplies in the back of his old SUV. Among those he helped was a young girl, Lily Harper, who had fallen seriously ill with pneumonia and whose parents could not afford immediate care. Jacob administered treatment in her home, monitored her recovery, and arranged for follow-up care at the clinic, saving her life. The experience reminded him that miracles often emerge not in grand gestures, but in acts of steadfast presence, in the courage to act when others hesitate. As his reputation grew, so did the challenges. The clinic faced bureaucratic hurdles, occasional financial shortfalls, and the emotional toll of witnessing suffering that sometimes felt unbearable. There were nights when Jacob doubted whether he could continue, when the weight of responsibility seemed almost too heavy to bear. Yet in those moments, he drew strength from the countless small miracles he had witnessed. Patients recovering against odds, families reunited, children smiling after weeks of illness, and from the unwavering support of his mother Helen, whose wisdom and resilience had guided him since childhood. One defining moment came when a mysterious donor, inspired by Jacob's dedication, offered a substantial grant to expand the clinic, allowing him to purchase state-of-the-art equipment, hire additional staff, and open a wing dedicated to pediatric care. With the new resources, Jacob was able to implement programs that provided preventive care, education, and support for families living in poverty, transforming the clinic into a beacon of hope for the entire community. Throughout his journey, Jacob continued to mentor aspiring doctors, especially those from disadvantaged backgrounds, sharing the story of his own path. From the small-town boy with worn shoes to a physician capable of saving lives and inspiring change, he emphasized that talent alone was not enough. Perseverance, kindness, and belief in the possibility of miracles were equally essential. Years later, reflecting on his life, Jacob realized that the true miracle had never been a single act or event, but the accumulation of countless choices, efforts, and acts of faith. From the first moment he helped Mrs. Lorraine Hayes, to the struggles of medical school, to the countless patients whose lives he touched, his story was a testament to the idea that belief, dedication, and compassion could reshape reality in profound and unexpected ways. Jacob's life, though marked by hardships and challenges, stood as living proof that miracles could still happen, not as random occurrences, but as the natural result of relentless effort, unwavering hope, and the courage to act with love and conviction in a world that often seemed indifferent. And so, in the small town where he had once walked with worn shoes and boundless dreams, Dr. Jacob Thompson continued to heal, to teach, and to inspire, embodying the enduring truth that keeping faith and believing in the possibility of miracles is often the first step in making them real. Thank you for taking the time to hear Jacob's journey. If there's one lesson to take away, it's this. No matter how hard life gets, no matter the obstacles in your path, never stop believing in yourself and in the possibility of miracles. Kindness, perseverance, and faith have the power to transform lives, not just your own, but the lives of everyone around you. So hold on to hope, keep working toward your dreams, and remember that even the smallest actions can create extraordinary change. If you like this story, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share with your friends and family, so you don't have to miss the next powerful story coming your way. Drop a heart in comment, like and subscribe my channel, and visit my channel for more interesting story videos.